Peace. What's going on, everybody? Give everybody a chance to scroll on in before I dive into the topic. Hopefully you all are having a powerful Monday thus far. What's going on, Amber? How you holding up on this Monday? Hopefully everything is going smooth for you. Omnipotent Goldie, what's going on with you, bro? How y'all living? How y'all maintaining? Just got some quick motivation that I want to spit to you all today. What's going on, Brandon Hicks? What's going on with you, bro? All right, Amber, we doing great. We're going to continue to elevate then. We're going to continue to elevate. Got some motivation, man. I just want to spit some motivation today. Nothing serious, nothing too deep. Just straight motivation, man, because I'm feeling it myself, needing a little inspiration. So I'm talking to myself while I'm talking to you all today. You know, we all tend to have some of those days, man, where we tend to worry ourselves to death, man. What's going on, Lachelle? What's going on, Zucko? Most definitely omnipotent. We always speak in the math. We live in the mathematics. That's what we do. And Amber, appreciate that, man. It was just something that I was pondering on. And matter of fact, I read something in a book that kind of inspired that particular video. And it was just simple. What's going on, Sweet Tea? Lachelle, what's going on? What's going on with you all? But yeah, the book, it's like a sentence in the book that just put everything in perspective for me. And that's why I made the video that I made in regards to, like, you know, when we wake up, we think about being productive. We think about meeting deadlines and stuff like that. Like, we prioritize that stuff, but we don't tend to just prioritize our peace. And when I read that, I kind of thought about that. You know, it's one of those things that it's like it's common sense, but it's like when you read it, it resonates with you because you actually not living it out. So it's like I wake up and I'm more so focused on objectives and I'm more so focused on goals, getting things accomplished, but I'm not focused on making sure my peace is intact, making sure my sanity is there, making sure my mental health is in check. When you do that, everything will unfold according to that vibe, according to that energy. So we tend to overly stress ourselves out with these deadlines, these objectives, and these goals. Sometimes, man, you just need to not worry about, but you need to focus on being at peace. And reading it, I felt like I read that for a reason, and that's why it resonated with me. And stop focusing on meeting these deadlines, getting these clients. Like, everything is going to come to you, man. You good at what you do. Trust yourself. So that's why I feel like that resonated with me, because that's something that I was doing. I was overly focused on like the objective, the process, and things of that nature. I wasn't focused on my peace, though. So I read that and it resonated with me, and I felt like I needed to share it. What's going on, Montel? What's going on, Miami Soldier? How y'all living? So it's like from this day forward, that's how I'm waking up. I'm waking up focusing on having a peaceful day. Because again, even with sometimes just being productive, like, you can be productive and not really get anything of importance done. Like, pretty much anything that you do is you being productive. It's all about efficiency, though, being efficient, doing quality things. So sometimes we just like to overrate being productive. Like, for the most part, we gonna be productive. It's a matter of what we are being productive doing. So I'd rather just prioritize and focus on my peace. And that's why I have the title of the video. That's why I labeled it with that headline. Stop worrying, start welcoming. And what do I mean by start welcoming? Like, what are the things that we tend to worry about? Like, what are the things that we worry about? It's like, just on my end, you go into business, you worrying about getting the proper amount of clients. Well, instead of worrying about that, welcome that challenge, embrace that. So stop worrying about it. Whatever the problem is, stop worrying about that problem. Just welcome that problem. Like, welcome it. When you welcome that problem, like when you embrace that problem, instead of worrying about it, then your mind is going to figure out ways to solve the particular problem, solve the obstacle. So that's why I said stop worrying and stop worrying and start welcoming. So that's real crucial to me, and that's something that I'm about to start living by. So it's no need to stress over these things that we consider problems, obstacles, and trials and tribulations and all that good stuff. That's welcome. Amber, most definitely. That's what we tend to do. We tend to put way too much pressure on ourselves, way more than we need to, way more than we need to. And then before I get too deep into the topic, I want to build on the math for today, because today is the 21st. And that's wisdom, knowledge, all being born to understanding. And the way I broke this down, it was just simple to me. The way I broke down the math for the day, and you can apply this to your everyday life. Wisdom, as I've broken down, is motion. So this is the way I'm going to break this down. Move according to what you know. Because we all know knowledge, information, data, observation, what you examine, what you analyze, things of that nature, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Experimentation, that's all knowledge. So move based off of what you know. Don't move based off of what you believe. Don't move based off of what you assume. Don't move based off something you heard. Move based off of what you know. Move based off of the actual facts. A lot of times, and we know the cliche saying that goes along with that, don't jump to conclusions. And we tend to do that. So the math for the day tells you not to do that. Don't jump to that conclusion. When you move based off what you know, when you move based off the facts, that prevents you from jumping to those conclusions. But when you move based off of something you heard, based off of something that you believe, then you tend to jump to those conclusions. So just move according to what you know. If you don't know something, strive to figure it out. Then move according to the knowledge that you gather. So it's that simple. We need to stop moving based on pure emotion. Do the knowledge to something before you make that move. And then move based off of what you found out, what you dug up. So that's simple mathematics for the day, man. Move according to what you know. Rude boy, what's going on? And then I got to correct the 3, because we don't use overstanding. It's understanding in the mathematics. So we don't use overstanding. That would be understanding. Because we got to teach it the way we got it. So we don't change that 3 to over. It's understanding. Yeah, most definitely, Amber. And that's what I'm saying. I even needed it. I feel like that's why I came across it, because I needed that. I needed that reminder for myself. Lindell, what's going on? And no doubt, rude boy, I understand where the overstanding comes into play, and I just got to correct it when it's when you breaking it down from a cultural perspective. I can't let my brothers from the culture see that, then thinking I'm co-signing it, because I'm not. So it's all good. Lindell, I have not. I'm gonna have to check. I'm gonna have to check her out. I'm gonna check her out today. Yeah, I'm nipping and Goldie, and and a lot of times we have troubles with doing that. We have troubles with doing that. A lot of times that emotion get the best of us. That energy emotion, it gets the best of us. But sometimes all you got to do is just think. We underestimate the power of simply thinking. Like, before you act, before you make a decision, before you move, just think about it. Like, literally, that's all it takes, is for you to think. Think before you move, think before you act, man. I mean, it's just that simple. And a lot of times we don't do that. We think after the fact. It's like hindsight type deal. But by that time, man, we didn't already caused the damage. So to prevent the damage in the first place, man, just think before you make that move. So that's what we need to do, man. And again, man, I've been reading a lot of, like little self-help books, man, and it all revolves around trusting yourself, man. Just trusting yourself, knowing of the power within self and trusting that power. So we stress over things that if we just trust ourselves, trust the power that we possess, like everything will be okay just based off of that trust. So a lot of times, man, I feel like it's a lack of trust in regards to ourselves and then a lack of knowledge of self. So when you know yourself, you know the power that you possess. But if you don't know yourself, then you don't know about that power that you possess. But once you have that knowledge of self and you know the power that's within self, then it's time to trust that. Just got to let everything go from there. The religious folks, they had this saying, let go and let God. Well, I interpret it differently. Let go and let self. Let go and let self. Like, it's just that simple for me. When you know you've been planting the proper seeds, man, trust that everything will unfold according to what you are planting. Patience, like that's something that you got to embrace as well, man. Patience is a virtue. Another cliche saying, but it's an actual fact. So once you start planting these proper seeds, man, you got to trust the process. Embrace patience. Everything will unfold according to the seeds that you planted, but it takes time. No problem, Lindell. But yeah, it takes time. Just like when I'm talking to people about getting in shape, I'm like, man, it took you time to actually destroy your body. That took time. And now you want to lose this weight or you want to bulk up or whatever the goal that you may have, you want to do this overnight. Doesn't work like that. It's a process and it takes time. If anything, it's a lifestyle change. So it won't happen overnight. The same thing goes with manifestation and manifesting. Stuff doesn't happen overnight. Doesn't happen overnight at all, man. You got to embrace that process. Be patient. Trust that process. Trust yourself. And yeah, rude boy, that most definitely goes, that answers that about overthinking. It's nothing to really overthink when you know what's about to happen. No need to overthink when you know what's going to happen. So a lot of times we overthink simply because we doubt our abilities. We overthink because we tend to doubt our abilities. We tend to doubt ourselves. Like, nah, you all wise and intelligent. You are powerful. So no need to overthink anything. If you have something that you are striving to manifest or that you need to manifest, and you know the power that's within self, once you plant that seed and you water that seed constantly, then you know what's about to happen. You know what's about to happen. So it ain't no need to overthink that because you know what's about to happen. So just trust it. Trust yourself. Like that's the phrase for the day. Trust yourself. Stop worrying and trust yourself. So I don't know what you all. Yeah, rude boy Moses. Everybody should self-lord and master. Self-savior. That's part of our supreme alphabet. You got to save self. Nobody else can save you but you. Stop looking for somebody on the outside or something on the outside to save you. You must save self. That's the supreme alphabet. That's the S, self-savior. You got to save yourself. That's the type of rhetoric that I push. Those are the philosophies that I live by. And that is what helps me get through life. I'm all about self. Everything goes back to self. If I can't take it and apply it to self, then I don't fool with it. If I got to take it and apply it to something external, I do not mess with it. I deal solely with self-empowerment. Keyword, self. If it's not empowering self, then why are you entertaining it? If you can't apply it to self in a powerful manner, in an empowering manner, then why are you entertaining it? Why are you entertaining it? If it's not uplifting you, why are you entertaining it? Zucko, you already know that's the 360 degrees, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. That's how we operate. That's how we operate, 360 degrees. That's the 1, 2, and the 3. That's the Holy Trinity for me. It's 2 holy trinities that I know: man, woman, and child, and then knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. That's a holy trinity. That's the mathematical trinity. So that's part of my trinity: knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, man. That is the foundation to everything. That is the foundation to everything. You're going to always need that knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. And yeah, rude boy, no such thing as coincidences and no such thing as luck. No such thing as either one of those things, man. So again, and then again, like with patterns, man, that's what I was talking about mathematically speaking. I was talking about studying patterns. That's how you able to predict what happens in the future. That's all that is, man. When people talk about being psychic and whatnot, everybody has that ability. All you got to do is study a pattern. Study a pattern. You can make all predictions, and we tend to do that. So everybody has psychic abilities because everybody has the ability to study patterns. It's mathematics. Be in tune with the universe. When you in tune with the universe and you in tune with self, then we know the language of that universe. The language of that universe is mathematics. So learn the math, study math, master math. When you master math, you master in self and you master in the universe around self. And I'm gonna hit y'all with another philosophy. Man, I was doing some reading this past weekend and got inspired, man. But I'm gonna hit y'all with a philosophy that you all may or may not have heard before. But let me know if you've heard this statement or this phrase or this concept. You know, Bruce Lee said, "Be like water." Well, I came across something that said we should be like a tree. So let me know if you've ever heard that. To be like a tree. Bruce Lee, my man, said be like water, but let me know if you've heard be like a tree. Like that caused a lot of introspection within me when I read be like a tree. I was like, okay, when I read the science of being like a tree, man, that shifted my paradigm, that shifted my mentality. Like I needed to see that at that time. It's simple, but yet, man, it resonated so deeply with me, man. And it was a game changer coming across that this weekend, man, this past weekend. Be like a tree. And I'm gonna just keep saying that to let it marinate, man. Let me know if y'all have heard that before, man. Sweet tea, that's sort of what it was saying in the book. But yeah, deeply rooted in your beliefs. But one thing it said about a tree, and this is the part where it got me, because you can always apply to self. And this is something that I always live by, man. But to see it was like, all right, that's crazy. That's a great analogy. Yeah, D Monty Magic, here it go. Basically, what it said about the tree, and this is why I tell people to like study nature. But what it said about the tree appears to be like unchanging, unmoving. But where does the tree grow from? From within, from the roots. And that's your foundation. So like on the surface, appear calm, appear unmoving, appear unchanging. Meanwhile, you are growing and evolving from within. And when I read that, I said, man, that's smooth. Be like that tree. Be like that tree. And what does that mean? When you encounter hardships in life, don't let it bother you. So on the surface, appear like it didn't make you move. You unmoved by this obstacle. You're not bothered by this obstacle. But within, you figuring out and you solving this issue. Within is where you figuring out the formula to solve this issue. But on the surface, it's as if that problem or that obstacle didn't even bother you. You appear unmoving, unchanged, but you doing all your growing, all your movement from within. So that is something that I needed to see, because I'm like, okay, got it. So stop letting people see you suffer. And then another thing, they talked about the tree. The tree gets its strength from the elements surrounding it. So the tree gets its strength from the elements surrounding it. And I was like, I needed that. Another thing that I needed. The tree gets its strength from the elements surrounding it. And that's basically when I tell people to get in tune with the universe and study the universe. That universe is what's surrounding you. So you take everything that's around you and you utilize that for your growth, for your power, for your strength, not for your downfall. So again, that tree gets its strength from the elements surrounding it. You need to do the same thing. Everything that's surrounding you, which is life. Life surrounds you. You take everything from life and you utilize those elements and those lessons to grow, to become stronger, to become more powerful, like that tree. But the meanwhile, that tree appears to be unmoving and unchanging, but it's constantly growing and evolving. So that, man, when I read that, like I said, that's something that I needed. Like I needed to see that. I needed to see that. So it's like on that surface, remain calm, man, because everything gonna be all right, and you do all your growing from within, because that's what you're supposed to do in and of itself. Then your roots, that's the foundation. Study your roots, study your origin. That's that knowledge of self. That's that knowledge of your culture. That's your knowledge of your history. So that's being in tune with your roots. So a lot of us are disconnected from our roots, and we know the problems that has caused. That's why they attempted. That's why they attempted and still attempt to this day to keep us disconnected from our roots. Because when you study those roots, that's part of the formula. That's part of the formula to evolve and then get our power back. Being in tune with our roots, being in tune with our history, being in tune with our culture. So that's one of the main reasons why they strive to keep us disconnected from our true history, from our true origin. So we got to stop that, man. We got to be in tune with not only ourselves, but our origin, our history, our culture. So we can't keep gravitating towards their way of life that they want for us. That's why I'm not big. That's why I'm not big when it comes to a lot. That's why I'm not big with a lot of religions. A lot of these religions, man, that they whitewashed. It's not our way of life, man. It's not our culture. It's not our origin. And when they tell you all this color don't matter nonsense, and then they paint images of their figures in a color that resembles them, or in a shade that resembles them. But when we do the same, it's a problem. No, that's being in tune. That's being in tune with your culture, being in tune with your history. Hence why they are doing it. So we got to strive to do the same, man. If your history and your culture doesn't have images that look like you and look like your kids, then stop gravitating towards it. Stop promoting it. Stop pushing it. Stop doing it. That's not the way to be in tune. So we got to be in tune, man. We got to be in alignment. We got to be in tune. We got to be in alignment. Yeah, D Monty Magic, patience. That's what I was talking about. Patience is a virtue. You got to embrace patience, man. And that's where a lot of people have problems is patience, which creates that lack of discipline. I'm going to repeat that lack of patience creates that lack of discipline. Have patience. And again, with that lack of patience, it's a lack of trust. Because if you trust yourself and trust the process, then no need to be impatient. So you got to ask yourself, because everything has a root. You got to ask yourself, where is this lack of patience stemming from? Why are you impatient? Why are you? Something is causing that. That is a symptom. And being impatient is a symptom. Something caused that, though. What is causing you to be impatient? A lot of times, the cause of that impatience is you not trusting yourself. You not knowing yourself. You not loving yourself. That can be the root of that impatience. So you always want to get to the root cause, the underlying cause. Don't just focus on lack of patience, lack of discipline, being impatient. Don't just focus on that. Focus on what caused that, because that's a symptom. That's the effect. It's not the cause. And that lack of patience can cause something else, but you got to get to the root of all of that. It's almost like striving to reverse an illness. You got to get to the root cause of that illness. And the way to get to that root cause, the way not to get to that root cause, is to focus on the symptoms. And that is what Western medicine tends to do. We focus on the symptoms and we don't get down to the underlying cause, which is why they call things treatments. So you got a headache. They just give you a pill for the headache. They not trying to figure out what caused the headache in the first place. Oh, your leg is hurting. Well, they just give you something to alleviate that pain, that leg pain. They don't focus on why the leg is actually hurting. Oh, you having stomach issues. Well, they gonna give you something to alleviate those stomach issues. But we're not gonna get to the root of why you are having those stomach issues. That's Western medicine. That's the Western way of life. We can't live like that. Your head is hurting for a reason. You are having these stomach issues for a reason. Your leg is in pain for a reason. We got to get to the root. We got to get to the root. And when it comes to illness, when it comes to chronic illnesses, 9 times out of 10 or 9.5 times out of 10, like the cause is all the same. Toxicity, being overly acidic, mucus. Those are the causes of chronic illnesses for the most part. So we got to get to that root. So if the root is mucus or being overly toxic or acidic, then we got to cleanse ourselves in order to reverse the condition, not treat the symptom. We can't focus on treatment if we're trying to cure or reverse something. Can't focus on it. Can't focus on it. So you got to cleanse yourself. So you got to take that same lesson and you got to apply that to yourself on an internal level. So when you have these flaws, when you have these flaws that you're dealing with, like being impatient, lacking the discipline and all that, man, you got to ask yourself where is that stemming from? Then when you figure out where it's stemming from, then you got to deal with the root cause of all of those issues. And they say, again, that's the main cause. That's another cause. I mean, not the main, but that's another cause for chronic disease, unresolved conflicts. So a lot of these flaws that we possess, they stem from unresolved conflicts from like our childhood and things of that nature. So you got to get to the bottom of these conflicts. You got to resolve them. So you got to stop running from those conflicts. When they pop up, man, you got to deal with it. You got to embrace it. You got to come to a conclusion, man. Accept it. It happened to you. You survived. It's time to let that go. Let it come and go. Stop suppressing it. Stop running from it. No matter how traumatic it is, because at the end of the day, when you suppressing it, you're not getting rid of anything, and that's not making anything better for you. That's unhealthy and that's killing you. It's making you more susceptible to cancer every time that you suppress a conflict. So stop running from these conflicts. Stop suppressing these conflicts. Deal with them. Deal with them. Embrace them. Face them. Don't run from them. Run to them. Run towards them. Run within. Let them come and go. Deal with them. But the moment they pop up, man, don't just try to bury it. Don't do that. Don't do that, because that's causing all type of issues internally. That's creating a very toxic inner environment. And we don't want that. We don't want that. And that's another thing that a lot of people underestimate in regards to chronic illnesses. So a lot of times we tend to overly focus on what we are eating or what we are not eating or what we need to eat, what we need to do on a like nutritional basis in order to reverse a condition or prevent a condition. But sometimes, man, you got to focus on it internally. Like, what are some conflicts from your past that you haven't dealt with? That could be more important than what you are eating and what you are not eating. Those unresolved conflicts. So a lot of times when it comes to things like that, we just like to focus on one side of it, but you got to deal with it holistically. So you got to change the way that you eating. But if you change the way that you eating for the better, but you're not getting to the bottom of those inner conflicts or those internal conflicts, then you are really not doing anything. That duality, that balance, that equality is crucial. It's crucial. Stop trying to change one without changing the other. Stop trying to change the body without changing the mind, and vice versa. You got to change both. That is how that must work. That's how that must work. But it really starts with the mind. But a lot of times we skip that and we go straight to the surface. We go straight to the physical. And that's why a lot of conditions don't really get reversed. And we wonder why. And people start saying erroneous things like that person was eating this way and they still died of such and such and such and such. Well, we don't know what that person was dealing with mentally, emotionally, internally. That can be the answer as to why that person still faded away from that chronic illness or that disease. Because you can eat as clean, you can eat 1,000% clean. But if you're not getting to the bottom of those internal conflicts, you still about to go down from whatever it is that you are battling with. Point blank, period. You got to free yourself of those conflicts. And that's where everything starts. That's why I said you got to prioritize your peace. You got to strive to have peaceful days. And that's a part of peace. That's a part of peace, because you cannot be at peace if you have unresolved conflicts. So the way to attain that peace is to resolve these conflicts. So that's why I say strive for that peace. Strive to be balanced. Strive to be centered. Because that's a healthy environment that you are creating internally. So I always tell people, man, when they come to me expressing concern or doubt or worry or whatever the case is, when they talk about, man, I changed the way that I'm eating, but I still feel like this, that, and the third. But it's like, what is the quality of your thinking? What is the quality of your thoughts? Do they match the quality of the food that you are consuming? 9 times out of 10, they don't. And then you cannot be under this false notion that if I simply change the way that I'm eating, then all of a sudden my thought process will change as well. So if I eat clean, then my thinking will automatically become clean. It doesn't necessarily work like that, especially if you have suppressed a lot of conflicts. Eating clean is not going to bring those conflicts to a resolution. It's not going to resolve those conflicts simply because you are eating clean. Nah, you still got to get to the bottom of those conflicts. I don't care how well you are eating. 1228 the Great, what's going on? Peace, what's going on with you? But yeah, I don't care how clean you eat. If your mind is still dirty, then that mental dirt is going to override all the clean food that you are consuming. So that lack of sanitation mentally is going to override everything. So you got to sanitize the mind. See, we be so focused on cleansing that outside, sanitizing the outside, but internally we are dirty. We lack purity. Sweet tea, most definitely. Most people are. I'd say a good 95% of the population are in those mental prisons. And the worst thing about that, the worst thing about being in those mental prisons is that a lot of people will not even acknowledge that they are in them in the first place. So they are in denial. So they don't think that they are in these mental prisons. That's the worst part about it. D Monty Magic, I'm gonna do you another one good though. I'm gonna do you something good, because part of mastering that diet, you're gonna have to master the mind. But just even with mastering the diet though, let's say you master the perfect way to eat. It's still like, if you've had a traumatizing life and you have suppressed a lot of feelings and a lot of emotions, I don't care what diet you master. You got to deal with those. You got to deal with that past trauma. You got to deal with it. Got to face it. You got to face it. Like that's the most important thing in and of itself. Just not mastering that diet, but dealing with those conflicts, because those conflicts are the things that's holding you back the most. Those internal conflicts that you are not resolving, those unresolved conflicts. So if you got some things in your life, man, that you need to get down, that you need to get to the bottom of, Like if you got things in your life that you need to get to the bottom of, I suggest you do it. I suggest you do it. Like a diet is part, like what you eat, your nutrition is part of the formula, part of the equation. It's part of it. It's like 25 to 30% of it. But we got more work that needs to be done. So that's only like with the discipline, D Monty Magic, I'll break it down like this, because we all got discipline when it comes to certain aspects of our life. So you can have discipline when it comes to the diet, but you may not have discipline when it comes to exercising, and vice versa. So I know a lot of people like that. Matter of fact, a lot of people that I train, that's how it works. So they got the discipline down in regards to coming to the gym, in regards to working out 5 to 6 days a week. But where they lack the discipline is the diet. So discipline is not just universal. It's not just universal. You can be disciplined in one aspect of life and then lack the discipline in another aspect of life. So it's even levels to your discipline. And I've seen that. It's crazy. So people will work out religiously, but when it's time to eat right, discipline is out the window. So you'll be hard pressed to find a person that's just disciplined in all facets of their life. And that should be the key. And that's part of resolving the conflicts. That's that mental discipline. So you got to take discipline and you got to apply it to everything in your life, not just one side of it. Again, that holistic aspect of it. So you got to always look at things holistically. Rude boy, the mind, listen, the mind is the sole controller. Like again, when they say the universe is mental, all is mental, I live and die by that. It's an actual fact, actual reality. It's the only reality that I need almost. When they tell you the universe is mental, all is mental, man, once they gave me that game, I ran with it. I ran with it. Because that mind can control everything via the perception, because that's really all that you control. And that's why I tell you to stop worrying, because you can control your perception. So whatever it is that you are worrying about, take a deep look at it and just change the narrative by changing your perception. What's the worst that can really happen? Whatever it is that you are worrying about, what's the worst that can really happen? Ask yourself that. When you ask yourself that and you come up with the answers, you're going to really start to realize that it's not all that bad. So whatever it is that you are worrying about, man, just ask yourself, what is the worst that can happen if what I'm worrying about becomes true? Just ask yourself that. And I guarantee you'll be like, man, that's what I'm worried about. I'm worried about this happening. That's crazy. That's really not that bad if that does happen. Rude boy, most definitely don't sleep on your environment. Hence why I talked about the tree. Tree gets its strength from the elements surrounding it, its environment. So we already know what can happen to that tree if it's in a weak environment, weak soil. Amber, I most definitely can relate to and understand that when you are doing the and you just hit on when I study habits, the key word there, so many triggers, keywords, so many triggers. When I study habits, that's the main key in regards to developing better habits and then figuring out like what to do about your destructive habits. It's all about triggers. So if that's one of your triggers, and I done been in that same boat, so then they say you got to change up the routine. So part of my routine, because I'm not going to dodge family. I'm not going to dodge family. So my routine that I had to change there was my perception. My perception. And your last sentence, I'm about to build on that. You said, I just wish they could be on this path with me. That's the part that you got to drop right there. And that's the part that I had to drop. That's attachment. I had to detach myself from family. I had to know and I had to understand that by me wishing they were on this path with me is creating a stressful internal environment, and I'm ending up probably more sicker than they are because I'm hoping and wishing that they will walk this path with me. I'm coming across information and I really want them to embrace this information too. That's actually making me more sick than they are because I'm stressing myself out because I'm so attached with wanting them to see what I see. Had to detach myself. Had to detach myself. I can't force anybody to walk this path with me. I can't force anybody to see the world how I see it, see the things that I'm seeing, embrace what I embrace. In due time, since they know what I stand for, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. In due time, they will seek out this information. If they don't, it is what it is. But I had to accept that. That was one of those unresolved conflicts, Amber, for me. I had to accept the fact that I really can't force family members to walk a certain type of way. I can't force family members to do what I want them to do or do what I feel is best for them. It's almost like that parent at that point and the way they view the child, because obviously they think they know what's best for the child. So it's like when the child can't see it, they start feeling a certain type of way as a parent. Well, I'm on the reverse side of that. So I now can see how they feel when they think they know what's best for the child, but that child is like, no, I know what's best for myself. But that parent can't accept that because they believe they the parent, they know best. They have this authority. So that makes them feel some type of way because they are attached to the status of being a parent in a relation to the child. You got to detach from all that. Sometimes that child may know itself better than you, better than the parent. Listen to that child when they tell you that. So the same applies for this type of situation. While I may feel like the path that I'm on will be best for them, who's to say that it would be? They can walk this same path and it could be destructive for them. My way might not necessarily be their way. They may be miserable walking the same path that I'm walking. And this path is enlightening me. It's giving me power, but it can supply them with weaknesses. So it's not necessarily a guarantee that their life would change for the better if they walk the path that I'm walking at this particular point in time in their life. And I had to see it like that. This path is for me, and your path, Amber, is for you. It's not for your family. It's not for your friends. It's not for anybody else. It's your path. So nobody is supposed to walk that path with you. And that's how you actually got to start seeing that. Once you start seeing it and let go of that last sentence, wishing that they could be on the path with you, everything will improve for the better. Even your relationship with them. Even your relationship with them will improve. Once you see it like that and become detached. Once you understand that it's my path and they walk in their path. So we all on individual paths. Once you see it like that and detach yourself, you will be good to roll. You will be good to roll. But I know that it's hard because it's your family. Those are the people that you would wish that will not come across, but will embrace some helpful knowledge. So if you come across knowledge that is instructing you on how to cure cancer, and you got a loved one that's fighting cancer, you would really love for that individual, that loved one, to embrace this information that is telling you how to reverse cancer, that's telling you there's not only hope, but here's evidence that the same fight that you fighting, other people have fought it and they have won, and it was simple. But you can't force it. You can't force it. You can't force it. Oh, Amber, most man, listen, coming from the perspective that I'm coming from, I got so many people in my family that have all type of issues that they should not have if they would just listen to some of the stuff that I have said. But I had to let it go. And you know what happened when I let it go? When I stopped trying to force it, you know what happened? Some of my family members actually started to make changes. Because the only thing that's met with force is resistance. So whether or not I had good intentions, because obviously I did, I'm coming across information in regards to health and fitness that I feel like will help you. But on the outside looking in, on the surface, it appears as if I'm forcing this information on you. And the only thing that you're going to meet with force is resistance. So that's why sometimes when you come across this information, because it's really not the right time for them to be hearing that information, you're going to get met with that resistance. You're going to get met with it all the time. But when I took away the force, and when I started just living out my reality and focusing on myself, got cousins hit me up talking about, man, I'm going vegan, and I'm getting my aunt on it. They got my aunt on it, man. They got her eating good, man. They got when I go down south, man, they fixing vegan dishes, and they eat more fruits and vegetables. And this came by way of me not talking about it so much. Like I said, when that student is ready, that teacher will appear. Matter of fact, I'm gonna just do it one better. I ain't even because I said the teacher could be anything, but when the student is ready, like those facts will appear, the information will appear because the information always was. So the people that's on the blood pressure medicine, the information is already out there. They got the information. I'm pretty sure you probably supplied them with the information, so they know what to do. They know what to do. When they ready, they gonna have that aha moment, that light bulb gonna go off because they already got all the information. So you didn't already planted the seed, so you have done your job. Now it's on them to have that light bulb moment. And trust me, it's gonna happen. You just gotta trust in that process. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. Like that's essentially what I started doing. That's essentially how I started moving. Because dealing with loved ones can be a stressful situation, man, in regards to this particular subject matter, man, just coming across information, wanting to share your goals with them and stuff like that, man. For the most part, that's where you get a lot of the backlash from. Will be your family members, man, your closest friends and your peers and all that type of stuff. That's where you get the most resistance from. And you would think that is where you would get the most praise from, or the most understanding from. Oh, Sean, you already know how I go. Peace, man. You get that money, man. So yeah, it can be stressful dealing with the loved ones, man. I know and I understand that because we wish and hope that we can save everybody, especially when we come across the information that we feel like we know that can help them. D Monty Magic, most definitely. And then when I broke down the causes of most diseases, I left that out. That's the main cause, stress. Because everything essentially is a form of stress. Even when you eat the wrong foods, that's stress. So everything is a form of stress. So toxicity, being overly acidic, mucus, like that's a symptom of stress. So everything is stress related. So that stress is doing way more damage than anything physical. When you break it all down, it's going to go the consensus will be stress. So that's why I tell people, and I don't want to necessarily say stop stressing, but the thing that tends to happen is how we channel that energy. So you can utilize stress to your benefit. You can utilize stress to become better, but we don't do that. We let the stress consume us. So when you getting in that rage, when that stress is building up, now you got to channel that. You got to release it. That is where we tend to make mistakes. We do not channel that energy, that stressful energy, in a proper direction. Like go exercise instead of just sitting there moping. And instead of just sitting there moping with those thoughts, with those feelings, with all that stress, man, go exercise, release that stress, write it down. Whatever your stress reliever is, if it's something productive, go do it. So you got to channel that energy in a proper direction because, like I said, everything is a form of stress. And you can use stress to your benefit. But you got to learn how to channel that energy in a proper direction. But we don't tend to do that. We tend to let that stress build up, accumulate. And we never eliminate. That's almost like constipation. Like that's what we do with stress. We constipate it with stress. You got to eliminate that stress, man. Just like you got to eliminate some of the foods that you consume. You got to get rid of that waste. You cannot be constipated when it comes to stress. You must eliminate. And the way to eliminate is channeling that stress in the proper direction. When you exercise, you right. That's eliminating that stress. That's wasting that stress. That's getting rid of that stress. Sweating. That's sweat. That's what that sweat is doing. Like, that's how you sweat mentally. So we gotta learn how to channel. We gotta learn how to channel that energy, man, in the proper direction. And a lot of times we tend to channel that energy towards our loved one. So we also got to stop doing that. So we let that stress build up. We let that stress build up. We let that stress build up, and we take it out on the wrong people. I know we done all been there, done that. I done been there, done that. Where you just let that stress build up, let it build up, let it build up. Don't let it out. Don't let it out. Then it's that one small thing that just causes you to unleash, and it is always on the wrong person. That is what happens when you continue to let that stress build up. Don't do that, because you're going to end up taking it out on the wrong person, saying something that you didn't really want to say to that person, and they didn't deserve that. They didn't deserve that at all. So we got to deal with that stress in a better manner, man. We got to channel that stress in the proper direction. Again, like I say, be like that tree. Obtain your strength from the elements around you. Utilize everything around you, man, to grow, to evolve. Because everything around you is a lesson. Get in tune, like I said, get in tune with nature, man. I keep stressing y'all to study the universe, study life around you. So when you master self, you're gonna master the universe. But study everything, man. Study the sun, moon, and stars. Study the trees. Study water. Study the grass. Study the animals. Study the insects. Study oxygen. Study everything about life. Honestly, that's why my channel, that's why I talk about what I talk about. That's why I talk about a lot of different things, because I study life. I study life. I took that lesson to heart. When they said study life around you, that is what I do. That is what I do. Everything about life, man, anything that exists within life is intriguing to me. So I will study it. I will study it. Nothing is off limits. That tree may seem boring to you, but when you analyze that tree, you'll find out how intriguing it is and how powerful it really is. Nah, D Monty Magic, I don't. So you gotta embrace and study that life around you. Get in tune with the elements. Get in tune with the elements, man. Get in tune and stay in tune with yourself. Trust everything, man. Trust everything. If you have a positive perception of yourself, first off, if you don't, you need to develop one. Your self-image is everything. How you perceive self is everything. So if you don't have a positive self-image, positive perception of self, it's time to develop that. Write that down on the note on an index card and keep that with you. Keep that with you. You need to have that positive perception of self. That's crucial. So how you see yourself is crucial. I don't care about how anybody else sees you. How you see yourself is all that matters. Who cares how anybody else sees you? They don't know you. They don't know you. Only you know you. So how you perceive you is what really matters. So stop letting others dictate the perception of self. Stop letting others dictate the perception of self. Stop becoming a character in everybody else's book. Stop doing that. Stop letting them control your narrative. You are not who they say you are. You are who you say you are. Point blank, period. (1228) the great, like with universal laws. I'm gonna tell you, I got a book that dives into the deep science of that, the secret science. I recommended that in my last video by John Baines. They deal with Hermeticism. And I like the way that they view the universal laws. So that book, The Secret Science, that's a nice book. And he also has another book called The Stellar Man. That's a good book. And I got another book called The Universe Within. That's another good book. So those are some good books that'll talk about the universal laws. Like those books are crucial. It's some more books, but I can't think of them off the top of my head. Those books are crucial though. Like those books lay down some laws, man. Talk about reciprocity and all of that good stuff, man. They talk about karma and all that. Universe, all is mental, like stuff like that, man. That's the type of stuff that you need to see. And then once you see it, you live it out. So again, like I said, move according to what you know. Key word there, move. So once you find out something, you got to move according to what you just found out. So when you find out the truth, you got to move according to that truth. And that's another reason why a lot of people like to stay in the dark when it comes to certain subjects, because it's accountability. Again, they say if you knew better, you do better. If you know better, you do better type deal. That's the reason why a lot of people like to remain ignorant. That's why a lot of people like to remain ignorant when it comes to certain subject matter, because once they find out the truth, they now become accountable for moving according to that truth. So once they really find out the science behind why what they are eating is garbage and why they need to shift the way that they are eating, they are now accountable. So every day that they choose, keyword choose, every day that they choose not to eat properly, that's their fault. So they can no longer say, well, I didn't know, or I don't know how I'm supposed to eat. Once they come across that information, now they're accountable. People don't like accountability, so they'd rather remain in the dark. They rather remain deaf, dumb, and blind to the actual facts and the truth. So that's why a lot of people like to remain ignorant, because they don't like to be held accountable for moving according to the truth. So a lot of people be like, man, I be trying to spit all this truth to my people, and they don't be wanting to listen. That's why. That's why, because now once they know it, they held accountable. They held accountable. So they can no longer use that excuse, well, I didn't know. So a lot of people don't like that accountability. The Monty Magic, my simple breakdown of time is the measurement of motion. Like that's my physical breakdown of like time. Even you can even consider that metaphysical. But I'm not going to necessarily say that I developed my outlook with my perception of time in mind, though. But I do have a certain perception of time. But I'm not going to say that my outlook and some of my perceptions, I've sat down and thought about them with the concept of time in mind. I didn't necessarily do that. 1228 the Grade. Yeah, I read that. I got like 2 copies of that book, actually. I'm Nippin' and Goldie, most definitely, man. I had back on Facebook. That's where I posted a lot of my books. That's where I'm known for posting my books. So I definitely can go to IG and post some of those books. And then I'm going to still do the video in the near future, man, about books in regards to certain subject matter. But I'll start posting a lot more of the books on IG, most definitely. Most definitely. I used to post a lot of my books on Facebook, though, back in the day. Like back in the day, I remember, man, when we came out with that Knowledge Gang, man, I used to book after book after book. Hence why I came up with that name. I was making it a gang. I was banging with the knowledge. Like I'm not one of those ones that like to keep everything concealed as if I'm like the only person with this information. Nah, if I get a book, I want you to get that book too. I don't want to act like I'm the smartest person in the room. I want you to read exactly what I'm reading. So a lot of times dudes don't do that, man. They try to come up with all this information. They try to spit out all this information. And then when you start asking them about sources, then they get all emotional and hostile. Like it's some esoteric knowledge that they don't want to get, like they don't want to dish out to you. Like, man, just tell me your sources. If you claim you got it out of a book, let me know the book so I can read the book. It's just that simple. But a lot of brothers be getting hostile when you ask for sources. I'm not one of those ones. I'm gonna let you know my sources off the rip. I have no problem saying I developed my insight from this book. I was motivated in regards to this perception by this book. I don't have a problem with that, because we all got to be inspired by something. 1228 great. Let me know when you do that. TZ official page. I got that. That book is crucial. And then another book that's good in relation to Marcus Garvey is Race First. So those two books, The Philosophy and Opinions of Marcus Garvey, which I have 2 copies of that book too, and then Race First. Those are 2 crucial books in regards to Marcus Garvey. Hence, y'all see Garvey in the background. So y'all know I'm a big fan of Garvey. So I've read most of everything that's related to Garvey. And then even with Muhammad Ali in the back, they got a book about Muhammad Ali, the relationship between Muhammad Ali and Malcolm X. Oh, I think it's Blood Brothers. That's a good book. That's a pretty good book. It breaks down a relationship between Muhammad Ali and Malcolm X. So that's a pretty good book that I recommend as well. Yeah, it's called Blood Brothers: The Fatal Friendship Between Muhammad Ali and Malcolm X. Read that joint. That joint powerful. And you'll probably read it in like 2 or 3 days. That's a great book. Rude boy, I think you smoking one for us now. But y'all, this been another powerful stream, man. I ain't have much time to work with today. I got some training I got to get done, man. I got to drill these clients. Before I do that, let me answer this, Lindell. I've talked about the Bible briefly. I have a Bible and a Quran. My uncle is a pastor. And I told you I went to 2 private schools, man. I went to a Lutheran high school and I went to a Catholic college. So with that, I had to take Old Testament, New Testament. I had to take a lot of theology classes. So I'm pretty versed when it comes to the Bible, because I didn't have to study it. I haven't read it front to back, but I know a lot about it, because I've legit had courses surrounding the Bible. So that's kind of why I have the perception towards it that I do, because I've legit had to study that joint. But like I said, man, it's been a good stream, man. I got to get up out of here before I get, I get sidetracked and get the venting and building on some other stuff, lose track of time. But I ain't have much time to work with today, because, life happens. It is what it is. But we're going to be back Wednesday around the same time, and we're going to have another powerful build. It's been another great live stream, great interaction, man. Y'all have a peaceful Monday evening. Again, prioritize your peace. I'm going to reiterate that. State it again. Prioritize your peace. Have a peaceful Monday evening. I don't care what you do. Just make sure you are having a peaceful and centered Monday evening, y'all. I'm out, y'all. Peace. Build on the positive, destroy that negative.